What's going on, guys? We are going to continue our lower radiator support build on the 240. And the last video we left off with test fitting everything in the front end just to verify that everything has good fitment before we make such an essential part to the car. So let's jump right in. What I want to do is grind off some of the paint that's on all of these three beams here, and then we're also going to grind off the front of this frame rail here. I've already boxed this in from the last time I put tubs in this car and did the whole engine bay, so we don't have to worry about doing any of that. And the reason I'm prepping all of this is because I'm going to weld a beam across from here, 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 and here, all connecting. Because once we connect those 5 points, then we're going to weld the tension rod brackets to the frame rails with a beam going all the way across. That way we know for sure those are going to be in the location they need to be. And once everything has been welded and mounted into position, we can grind off the tiny little spot welds that I put on this lower radiator support, and then we can unbolt it and take it off completely. Then I'll be able to start from scratch and make a fresh one. Well, I think it's time that I cut up this jig because it is just taking up space and no one has messaged me saying that they need it. So I'm going to put it to use. This jig is really what saved this car. The idea of connecting all three subframes or cross members and then attaching it to the bottom of the car and then letting everything align to that. But it did its job. Unfortunately, I don't have the infinite money glitch, so I need to use the materials that I have, and this will do. I just plan to weld this on here, just like this. Nothing too crazy. Again, I'm gonna have to cut this off after, so I don't want to like put any heavy beads on it. This is just to keep its place while I remove the lower radiator support. We got this beautifully on here. I did put a little piece of scrap metal in here because this middle piece is a little more sank in than the rest. Now we need to grind away in here and in here, and then figure out how I'm going to attach it to the frame rail area. So for the tension rods, this is what I'm thinking. Put this beam right around here, and then I got these two short ones. I'll take one, and then we'll just match it up. Maybe I'll squeeze this one down like this, and then the other side will be able to sit on top of the beam. Okay, we have everything welded up on here, so it should all be secured. But before I take off the lower radiator support, I do want to mark just the original location, because remember, this is where the radiator was hitting. In a previous video I showed that when you tilt the radiator forward for the RB swap, you do need to trim some of your lower radiator support. So I just want to be sure that I don't make a whole new support and then have to trim it even more because of my lack of paying attention. So we're going to make a mark now. So this is the line. Then I'm also going to mark the height, because why not? I forgot to leave myself clearance for this bolt. I thought I was paying attention to leave this little knob on the top side, because see, I can still access this one and this one. This way I could just bend up. All the bolts are out. Last thing is cutting off the last few tack welds. Well, this was the old radiator support. Nice and crusty. Oh, left us some presents. And there's even a snap tension rod bolt in here. Alright, let's see what we're working with now. Alright, not too bad. So now what we need to do is figure out a way to connect both tension rod brackets and all three of the core support beams, I guess, and attach them to the frame rails. So I have this big piece of metal right here. Just kidding, that's way too big. But I was planning on using this one. I feel like this could be pretty nice, and it's super thick. And for all of those people who are going to question how strong it is, blah blah blah, I'll just compare the thickness of metal. So that's literally paper thin. and that's pretty solid. First thing I want to do is trim this to size so that we can fit this in between the two frame rails. Yeah, so we have quite a bit of trimming to do. All right, let's test fit this in the car. Line this up. Okay, right around there. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the bolt holes on all of the mounts to see if they line up okay. And so far they do. We want to make sure it's not like completely on the edge where we're not going to be able to weld a nut on the inside. And for the bottom, perfectly centered. So that is awesome. So as you can see, this is flat across and it only contacts just a portion of the bottom of the frame rail, which is obviously not the best idea structurally just to leave it like that. So this is what I'm thinking of doing. We cut this new lower radiator support at an angle, something like that. And the piece that we cut off, we flip to the top and weld it down long ways like this. We're also gonna have to keep in mind to put that added piece on top forward more. Now I'm gonna do some measuring and some cutting to make sure these are even on both sides. I'm so excited to see how this thing turns out. Oh, this looks so clean in here. Like, oh man. This stuff excites me. This is like the exciting part of the build. When you get to really make your own kind of stuff, you know? Make it your own, make it unique, make it look cool. Okay, let's see how this fits on the car now. Just grab one of these for now. All right. Then I'm also gonna have to tilt it a little bit forward to compensate for that radiator tilt. Since this metal is so thick, I am actually going to cut off the entire top and backing to this because this is a little overkill being this thick and this heavy. It'll make it a lot easier to weld the nuts on the inside. Whew, I'm not gonna lie, that took probably longer than half an hour to cut this, and also went through 4 cutoff wheels. So I'm gonna start marking the holes that I want to be drilled. So I'll put the marker in the hole, draw a nice little circle. Same with the bottom. Okay. So I've circled the holes that need to be drilled, so that's at least the thickness of the drill bit that I need to use. And same with the bottom. Surprisingly, drilling these holes out was not too bad. So now I'm going to grind away the debris that's left on the holes that I drilled. And I'm also gonna need some new hardware to mount everything up nicely. Picked up some bolts and some red Loctite. So look at how long this dang receipt is. And the Loctite I'm gonna use in the flywheel bolts, not this hardware right here. Just figured I'd get it while I was out. These 4 bolts and nuts are gonna be used for the tension rod brackets. And these 3 nuts and bolts are going to be used for the 3 core support mounts. And we also did increase the thickness of the 2 outer mounts. So that's the new one, and this is the old one. The bigger size bolt already fits in the intercooler mount, so we're good there. And it looks like we're going to have to drill out the outer mounts to fit them in there, but that's okay, not too hard to do. When buying new nuts and bolts for suspension related components or anything structural, you always want to make sure that it's a good hardness or grade, and in this case these are 10.9 and these are 10.9. And if there's no markings on top, I wouldn't even run it. And also all of the bolts are flange bolts, meaning they have like a washer built into them. These are just way more professional looking, they work better, it holds the material better, so this is always what I go for. Unfortunately they didn't have flange nuts for these 3, but I do have flange nuts for the tension rod bracket. Because you have to remember, I drive these cars all the time, drift events, road trips, sometimes daily drive, although I might not daily drive this anymore. But I just want to be able to know that I can trust the car inside and out, and really just what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And I think this car has overall proved that. I mean, even after the crash, it still survived enough to drive, which is pretty crazy. Back to what we're doing. Let's mount this lower support in here, have it all grinded away. And I want to bolt this in before I weld anything onto it or weld it into place. I want to bolt this into the car just to verify that everything lines up. So now all the bolts are tightened on this lower radiator support. So what I'm gonna do now is grab this wire wheel, grind away all the paint and coating that are on these nuts, and then I can start tack welding those nuts into position. And then once the mounts are secured into position, then I can start welding it to the frame rails. We've got all the nuts welded on there, looking super nice. And we got this one and all the way in here and all the way in here. I need to shave these caps so that they fit right here. Then I think I am gonna throw this back on here. Just put it right back on top. I just want to get this car built in a way that I know it's gonna last forever and it's gonna hold up. So I have prepped the side supports and the center cover, but I figured it'd be a good idea to test fit the radiator just to verify fitment before I weld those into place. Well, unfortunately, the radiator is hitting on the brace that we made to keep the tension rod brackets in place. So I'm not able to confirm exactly, but at least we can eyeball it and get a good idea. So if we grab one of the mounts, test fit it. Something like that should be perfect. All right, we have this welded into position. I will mention I did cut a little slit in the edges of these, and then I hammered them in just to give it a little more clearance, just in case. I don't know if it was going to need it or not, but you know, it never hurts to give the radiator more room since the RB is so big. This is also the perfect opportunity to write yourself a secret message inside of your car. Mine's just the date. And that came out so nice. Whoo! I even got a little signature on there. Now I want to fill in the bottom of this. I just want to cut out some sheet metal and fill in these caps right here and right here. Well, I ended up grinding off this front support that was holding the frame rail to the 3 pillars in the front. And then I welded in the front seam here. Then I got some cardboard out and traced the box that we need to make, and then came over to the sheet metal and cut it out. But before I weld these little metal pieces on, I was thinking I want to drill a hole right here because this is now completely capped off from the chassis. And if I drill a hole in there, then I can spray some undercoating and protect the insides of this from rusting out. So here's the stuff we're going to be using. Internal frame coating by Eastwood. Comes with this little straw, and then you just fit this fitting right into the hole, spray it up. And I did also drill 2 holes in the lower part as well, but we're going to spray undercoating in those holes once the caps are on. And with that, I'd say we have a lower radiator support. I did just cut off the tack welds that were on this support beam. So take that off now. So there it is. That's how it's going to be. And now is a perfect time to spray that undercoating. So do that real quick. And we'll just fish this as far as we can go on one side. And then we'll do it to the middle, the other side, yada yada. Get a nice coat in there. It's coming out this side. It's definitely getting a good spread in there. Now I can use this as a jack point, and it'll be stronger than ever, and especially stronger than the stock one. You guys saw how thin that was. Plus, if you have an S chassis and you jack it up from the middle of one of those, I bet it's bowed right in the center. Ridiculous. But anyways, radiator fitment has been confirmed. Perfecto. Hopefully you guys found this video useful, and maybe it even gave you some ideas to make something for your own car, or if you do something differently. Either way, thanks for sticking around. Let me know what you think in the comments. We're almost there. This thing is getting really close. and it's starting to really feel like an actual car now. I am super eager to put this quarter panel on, but I just wanted to make sure that I finish all the engine bay stuff first. I can't wait to show you guys what I've planned next. It'll be something different that I haven't done before, so hopefully it works out. I've been spending way too much money on my 240 project lately, so it'll be really nice to recoup some of the money I've spent. We have a side quest. And we've arrived. Let's go see what we're working with today. A little old Del Sol. So this guy has asked me if I can put a different muffler on it to make it sound a little better and also diagnose an oil leak. So I'm gonna start with the hardest part, which is gonna be the muffler. He literally asked me one day, he's like, "Hey friend, can you make my car sound like your car?" I was like, I mean, I guess I can just, you know, I'll order the same exhaust that I have. So I ordered the muffler and we're just gonna weld it on. So now we'll unload the work truck. Perfect. Figured I might as well show you guys what muffler we're putting on. It's the same muffler that's on this car, and it's an OBX. And here is the new one. Shiny. Do the knock test. Sounds good. I think I'm gonna start the car up so we can get a before sound, and then we'll get an after sound when I put this on. But we got a beast under the hood, all right? Got that D series. But this thing had like a really nice OEM refresh. And he's looking for quarter panels. He's like an older guy that just kind of works here, but I don't know, it's pretty cool. I like helping him out. Pretty sick sounding. This one has like that dual exit right here. We got the high flow section. We got the standard for, you know, normal driving. Honestly, it doesn't sound that bad. Hopefully it doesn't sound worse with this one. Oh, luckily this isn't too rusty. Let's measure this up. Right about there is our length. Now I am going to leave a lot of excess because you want to have a decent overlap here so you can get a good weld. Definitely a lot of weight reduction going on here. Looks like there's still a little tab on there. I'll have to grind that off too. Now I want to start working on the hangers while this is off. So it looks like this muffler actually has this pretty cool brace that has the hangers on it. We're going to start with cutting this off of the old muffler and seeing how it lines up on the new one. We are officially done with this one. Yeah, it's a little too long, as I expected. I'm gonna mount this on the car first, and then we'll put the new muffler on it and see how it lines up to it. Oh, it's actually pretty perfect. So I'll just grind away all the paint and rust on this mount right here, and then I'll weld it to the front of this one, just how it was in the stock muffler. We have all of our odds and ends prepped, all the paint and rust grinded off of them. I want it to fit that little opening on the bumper there. But I also don't want it to be crooked. All right, let's weld her on there. Sick. All right, now we just gotta finish up the rest of the welding. Curious to see how this thing sounds. Nice. All right, let's lower the car down and start it up. Well, alright, I think that's as good as it's gonna get for a D series. At least it looks cool. Alright, let's take a look at this oil leak. Everything on top looks completely dry. So I think we're gonna look on the bottom. Oh yeah, I do see a little bit of drips here and there. So there's the pool that you can see it dripping down. Probably just from when he changes his oil filter and the oil just sits there. Everything else looks really good on this car. This is a really clean car. Well, that was easy. Just wipe that up. Now it's also worth noting that I did notice there's a little bit of an exhaust leak on this donut gasket. You can actually see some of the exhaust humidity dripping out of it. So this looks super gunked up, so it looks like it has been leaking for a long time. I'm gonna ask if he wants me to either cut that out and replace it, just solid weld, or if he wants me to put a new donut gasket in there. Personally, I think welding that one straight will be the best idea, but we'll see what he has to say. It's his car. This should be nice and fast. I'll show you how this works. Ready? Take a look at it, and then you just... Perfect. Now we can try and start this thing again so we can see if it sounds any different. Honestly, doesn't sound that bad for a D-Series. Sick. Well, job well done. Until next time.